Good evening, gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Scott Moore. I am Alpha Iota Phi Gam class of 1997. And I am very humbled to have been asked to be the Toastmaster, Master of Ceremonies this evening. The committee for Pig Dinner, graduates and undergraduates, worked really hard on this program, and they did everything they could to streamline it. So please bear with us this evening, as we do have a lot to get through, and we will get through it as soon as we can so that the real refreshments can be put back on tap again. A few things that I would like to do before we actually get the program started. First of all, thank you to all of the Pig Dinner Committee, graduates and undergraduates both, who threw this dinner for us. Let's give them a warm round. And in my work position, I have the unique honor and privilege of coaching a pretty good cross-country and track team here in Central Iowa. And one thing I enjoy every spring is taking my great runners to the Drake Relays. Last year, Drake Relays came back after having been gone for a year. And the announcement that they gave is one that I'm going to kind of repeat this evening. After 1,093 days, welcome back to a real Alpha Iota Phi Gam Pig Dinner. I'd like to recognize just a few people. Number one, as far as I know, we have one out of town brother, Mark Wilkeson from the University of Vermont Beta Upsilon chapter. Mark, could you stand up, please? I would also like to welcome all the brothers who are on Zoom. I have absolutely nothing in front of me that lets me know if the Zoom program is working. Hopefully it is, and we are especially proud to have you. 2 years ago, I sat in Dustin Curran's front yard and got pissed drunk on a Zoom call for a pseudo pig dinner. So I hope you guys have as much fun as I did on that one. Again, the bar will reopen after the program, and it will stay open until 10:30 this evening. One thing that we are very unique in having is a really quality pig dinner. I went to graduate school in a couple different places. I've traveled around and seen some other Phi Gam chapters in cities I've lived in, and I've never been to a pig dinner that is as good or involved as this one. Last year in section 24, which is our section, for those of you who don't know your FIJI trivia, we won the plaque of pigness, and this is a traveling trophy that recognizes.
There was as many as 12 people ever participating as far as Zoom members.
It recognizes the most graduate brothers who attend the dinner, and it appears that we're in great form to retain the plaque for another year. Speaking of graduates coming back, would any graduate who traveled at least 500 miles to be here stand up, please?
But I can't do anything else. I'm seeing a.
You tried FaceTime. You want to try that once more?
Okay, I'll try.
Please stay standing if you traveled over 1,000 miles to be here. Over 1,000 miles to be here.
Tim. Well, this is too bad.
I have to say this is surreal. Having been in Scott Bruce's pledge class, I never thought I'd see a competition where he and Dick McCormick were going head to head.
And I'm seeing a very full screen.
Scott, how far did you travel?
Seeing just a little bit of me in
1,300 miles. Brother McCormick, how far did you come from? California. I think Brother McCormick is our
all of you and
farthest traveler.
You can't, because we only have one screen. So
How many of you were at the Iowa State football game when the tornado went over the stadium? Yeah. So this kind of reminds me of that. Maybe this will be just as cool. The last thing I wanted to do before we officially start the program is have anyone who is a first responder, nurse, doctor, paramedic, firefighter, anyone who has been a veteran or is currently on active duty, please stand up and be recognized and let us thank you for your service and your concern for the rest of us. And I would like to start our traditional dinner blessing by singing the doxology, and young Carson Gryman will come up and lead us in the doxology this evening.
Joining me up here will be Kyle Riggs as well. Bless our fraternity, heaven grant thy peace, lead on to victory, her strength increase. Long may our Delta reign in unity. Oh, guard and save our dear fraternity.
All right, we will now have an invocation prayer for our dinner by Brady Pauling, class of 2024.
All right, if everyone would bow their heads. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us gather here today. It's been a long 3 years and we're very glad to be here. Please watch over us today during this meal and after we leave. Please bless the food we're about to eat and the people that prepared it. Amen.
All right, and I just realized we are missing one very important guest at this dinner. And I understand that as they came over to bring this guest special platform, the 4 young men who are bringing him here said, okay, we're here, where is the pig? So after a little bit of pucker factor, we found our guest, and we would like to have the pledges Bring in the Pig to the song of Bringing in the Pig.
Bring Joyce in. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall rejoice in. Bring it in the cake. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall rejoice in. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall come rejoicing. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall come rejoicing. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall rejoice in. Bring it in a pig. Bring it in a pig. Bring it in the pig. We shall rejoice in. Bring it in the pig.
All right, wait there, gentlemen. There are going to be some people who want photo opportunities. And speaking of which, I would like to invite Howard Logan, class of 46, our oldest attending graduate, to come do the honors of kissing the pig's snout. Howard will take his ceremonial kiss, and then he will help young Joe Johnston, class of 25, to take his ceremonial kiss afterwards. There you go. Hey! All right, it appears that most of us are to our desserts. Make sure you are carefully observing your brothers eating their desserts and settle in for the formal part of the program this evening. In order to get us started, I've thought about bringing a little levity to the program, and unfortunately I'm limited in the storytelling or joke telling I can have, because A, this is being live streamed, and B, I'm a school teacher. So I've got to keep it a little mellow, but I've got a couple that should be okay. The first story I have to tell is about a young man taking a plane ride. He gets on the plane and sits down, and about 5 minutes later, in comes the most gorgeous woman he's ever seen. She sits down next to him, luckily. It's never happened to me. And he greets her, says hello, says, "What's your name? What do you do?" She says, "Well, hello, my name's Susan, and I'm a lecturer on sex." And he said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, I teach people about the stereotypes and misconceptions people have about sex." And he said, "Well, what are some of those?" She said, "Well, most people might say that African-American men are supposedly the most well-endowed, but we found in our studies that it's actually Native American men." I said, "No." She said, "And a lot of people think Frenchmen are the best, most passionate lovers. We found actually Italians are much, much better." And she said, "But the most surprising thing of all is that we found in all our travels around the world, Southern redneck men are the best thing a woman can find, in bed or out." And she blushes a little and says, "That's an awful lot of information. And I'm sorry I introduced myself. I haven't even asked you your name." And he says, "Oh, happy to meet you. My name's Tonto Spicoli, but my friends call me Bubba." A while ago, many of us here had the pleasure of being at the 100th anniversary of Alpha Iota's Phi Gamma Delta chapter history. And that was in 2007. And one thing that we had the unique privilege of enjoying that evening was the recitation of an exile's toast from one of our graduate brothers, Dan Rouse, who was in the class of 90, I believe. Dan Rouse was a military member, and he was actually on the battlefield in Iraq. And he managed to send us a video of him reciting the exile's toast. So this evening, we're going to bring back that tradition and have him talk to us on the video again.
From Baghdad. It's an honor to do the Exiles Toast, and I'm proud and humble for you to give me the opportunity. I'm sure there are other members of Phi Gamma Delta over here with me. I just haven't met them yet. Now, you may have to go through the records check, but I don't think I'm shooting at any of them right now. So I think that part is good. I am glad that you guys are all gathered together, and from the bottom of my heart, I wish I had a chance to be there with you and enjoy the festivities and the brotherhood that I missed so much for so long. One thing I do want to tell you, though, is you, as Americans, have some of the finest people you could ever wish for serving alongside me. And I'm humbled that I have that opportunity to do it. And I ask you, as we go through for Phi Gamma Delta and into the future, that we pay particular attention to those fellows of mine that decide that the Army is not their life's path, but part of their path. And when they come to college, to actively recruit them and make them part of the brotherhood. It will make them stronger. And for a fact, it will definitely make our brotherhood stronger. So, without further ado, the Exiles Code. And I hope you like my kit. I decided to wear this because when I go outside the wire, this is normally what I wear. I got my pistol, and you probably can't see it. I got my knife. I didn't carry my rifle because it would have been probably got in the way of the speech. But I thought that since I'm doing this from Baghdad, I might as well be kitted up for Baghdad. All right, gentlemen. Gesundheit. Ach, mein liebe friends, that noche dawn today. You're dining beer the poodle in the same old jolly way. Well, me a good, du lieber Gott, I've set me down und wet, that your kind invitation I cannot yet accept. Der poodle, don't I know the place. They blind mine eyes up tight, und starts my beer, the plaza on, I find their house all right. Their glass that I have gebroken there, their spoons I have gestolen. Their whiskey John that have drunk from us the sugar bowl. Ah, those were days their gifts he knows, and where she knows it too. And Harsman could remember just a little thing or two. And that boy Arnie Honerstone, his little foot oh my, he never sets his schooner down until he's drunk or dry. And Oswald Wally ever bit, who Ollie knows it all. And Gibbons, Lord of women, he led Sherman at once fall. And then a Clark der Vaterland, there is their soldier man. At this point, musketry. Their terror of their Spaniards in their charge of San Juan. Their awful Captain Selfridge, he's a howling martinet. And speaking to him, touched the cap, he lost the etiquette. Well, Brooksy Bomber, he goes too, that quiet little boy. They gauze him when he's very good. They're showing circles joy. And Humphreys, he's the slag. And he knows their history. On every Fiji chapter, in their land from sea to sea. And Philly Schmidt and Emery, they does their little stunts. Falutin met their younger set each Saturday at lunch. Hi, all you grads, you lucky grads, who this Thanksgiving Day send shop at home, just think of us, their exiles far away. There's Chunky in Geneva, and there's Corbett in Paris, and Doodle's gone to New Orleans, and in Baghdad there's me, and Winston's in St. Louis, and there's Rivers, God's nowhere. Wie sitzt und waits und watches und wie groan and tear at their hair. We reckons und their difference in their time and everyone. We says out loud, they have kicked off, the game have just begun. And they aren't there to see it played, and we ain't there to yell, and we ain't there to see their team just knock them into hell. Well, Then you all sit down again to eat that poodle lunch. You all just try to fancy that or meet you in the bunch. Here's to their team, by God, stand up. This ain't no usual drink. Stand up, hands round. Between us all is their common link. Stand up, it is their exile toast. We'll meet you all today. We're back once more in their old place, and back again to stay. Stand up, stand up. From east and west, we're going to be with you. We're dining at their poodle, just as once we used to do. This day we show our colors when we let all their eagles scream. For we're dining at their poodle, and we're drinking to the tea. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed giving it. I wish I could be there for you. I often miss all you guys. And if anything, to the God's Country guys and the Devil Weaves, special thanks. All my love. And you brothers, take care of yourself. We're over here doing what needs to be done. And hopefully, maybe by Christmas or so, I'll be back in the States and drinking beer, and I'll still be thinking of y'all. Everybody take care. I hope you have a wonderful time and take advantage, because if I was there, I would. Signing out, Dan Norris. Bye.
It's good. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
That's one of the better renditions I've ever heard of Exiles Toast. Those of you who ever had the pleasure of meeting Dan, he was not just a great Phi Gam, he was just a great person in general. He was one of us, and he was really cool. While there's a blurb in your program, I think things will be better said by brothers Pete McNally and Doug Moore, class of '90, who are pledge brothers of Brother Rouse.
That was great to see. I'm going to commemorate the plaque up here. I don't know if anybody's seen it after dinner. If you haven't yet, please take a look at it. But it's concerning Dan. I'm glad everybody got to see that. It was great. Good evening. My comments are prepared mostly for the younger generation audience tonight. I appreciate 8 minutes of your time, including any pauses that may happen, because this is a very emotional subject for me. I'll call upon a couple of my most vivid let me get the PowerPoint going here. Oh, F5, thank you. Another picture, Dan, everybody. Gotcha. I'll call upon a couple of my most vivid crystal memories, like we all have the ability to draw from in your mind. I still remember my first day, hot August day at 325 Ash, alone in a cluttered second floor hallway, when I saw these two tall dudes walk around the corner from Ag Annex, turning north. Chris Chapman, followed by Dan Rouse, with jet black eyebrows and a glorious mullet of dark hair that would rival Joe Dirt. I can see it now. Now, I'm not a civil engineer. I am a civil engineer, I'm sorry. I'm not a biologist, but I do know what a man is. That's a man. That's a man. If anybody ever met him knows what I'm talking about. He's a man's man. Dan Rouse at Astra would be one of my pledge brothers in the class of 1990. That summer of 1986, the summer of the original Top Gun movie, young guys got to go see that, all right? Influenced by that, I was in Air Force ROTC with Dan, Boston Hat, and Big Johnny Yuma. I think we thought the co-eds would throw themselves at us as future pilots and demand that we take them to bed or lose them forever. That didn't happen. So we all discharged from the Air Force, but Dan found another calling. Dan joined the National Guard and Army ROTC while he still attended Iowa State. It was not much of an evolution for Dan to excel in the Army as well as in his Phi Gamma Delta experiences. It was as natural as can be that he ascended to chapter president in 1989. It could have been no one else. Dan was a leader. Rouser was a man. Said that multiple times. Dan was a leader of men. He was not prejudiced if you were from Dunkerton, Iowa, Hinsdale, Illinois, or the big city of St. Louis or Minneapolis. He'd haze you, mock you, and bear hug you all the same. Through my most intense years of college experience, Dan was omnipresent. If you were in some seedy dive bar or in some enemy fraternity basement at an after-hours party, if you glance around, if Dan was with you, there was no need for concern. He had your back. I won't go on with stories about Dan's exploits from old guys like me or from Wright County, but if you hear a story about Dan Rouse, it's probably true, a little embellishment, because it really happened. He could do things most Avengers can't do. He rarely slept. He could get the most attractive dates in a bar trip only 2 hours before a house party. His charisma was not an inauthentic effort to network or self-promote or influence. Even back then in the 1980s, before social media and social posing, you crave for somebody with his type of authenticity. He was a person you wanted to be around. And I could see during college that he learned to embrace and utilize his magnetism and power, and that he was born and bred with from his parents, David and Ruth Rouse, and molded further by Phi Gamma Delta. After college, Dan continued with a military career, and it was to no surprise that Dan flourished. Again, he was a leader of men. For 22 years, Dan committed himself to the Army and ascended to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. During his career, he had 2 combat tours in Iraq as a Ranger. Think about that. Think about it. This is self-evident, but war is the worst of human experience, and he survived it initially. During the early 2000s, as I was raising my family, living my privileged, peaceful suburban life, I would hear snippets of what Dan was doing and the battles he had been in and the combats. I was worried about Little League baseball games and teams blowing a lead. He was worried about IEDs blowing his or his men's limbs off. In this immediate post 9/11 period, I think most critical thinkers knew we were subject back then to our own version of what is now called fake news, gaslighting, WMDs, World Trade Center, older guys know what I'm talking about, Al-Qaeda. What was true and what was a lie? What was theater? What should I believe in? What should I worry about? I did know this one single thing to be true. Lieutenant Daniel Nolan Rouse was an Army Ranger, and he was over there fighting for us. He was fighting for me. And if it was not right or just, he would not be fighting over there. And if he's fighting over there, we're going to win, right? He did. I took comfort in this like many of my classmates. He led the way like Rangers do. I'm very glad you got to see his exiles toast. Time passed. We knew that Dan had already done more than his share for the Republic and had other assignments around the globe. There was news of his proud and brave explorations into deep Asia, looking for missing in action veteran remains. We heard of his retirement, but also started to hear stories that the toll war and combat had on him. We can only imagine the difficulty of transitioning from war zones back to civilian life. In 2016, Dan came back to Big Dinner. We all longed for our brother's return, and he made a great and joyful impact to all of us that loved him. I don't know if anybody was here then, but it was bittersweet because it was apparent in first person that Dan had changed. He was challenged living in a post-military world. He had demons, imperfections, and vices many of us try to fight and manage. We were all concerned and talked about friendly interventions and visiting him in Colorado where he had retired to. My second crystal clear memory I want to share now, I'm gonna have to read this, sorry guys, make it through it, is when I got the call that Dan had died. It was on April 19th, 2019. The first I heard was actually from a little sister and FIJI wife named Kathy Stuhler. I was sitting in my work truck in the rain at an Iowa City construction site. I couldn't move for about an hour. Sorry. My phone started to blow up from other brothers. I could not move. Superman is not supposed to die. I won't diagnose or talk about Dan's last days, but I do know that he was a casualty of war. He suffered from a type of post-traumatic stress we could never understand. The exposures his body and bloodstream might have had during his deployments will remain unknown. What he saw, he could never unsee. He voluntarily fought for us, suffered for us, and deserves our respect and constant gratitude, as do all combat veterans. I'll just have a few more points and then I'll be done. Iowa State is not a state of Iowa is not steeped with military culture. Trust me, I live in Iowa City. People there don't understand our citizen soldiers. I'm the son of a career Chief Master Sergeant. I came to Iowa State from Offutt Air Force Base over in Omaha, based from there. There were always ROTC and National Guardsmen in FIJI House in my years. I know our mommies and daddies, that's Dan talking right there. Our mommies and daddies sent most of us to college, to paraphrase Waylon Jennings, to be doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, and such, not soldiers. Are there any ROTC guys now in the house? I just wanted to ask, I hadn't heard of any yet. It's interesting Dan mentioned that in his Exiles Toast. Seek out our volunteer military citizen soldiers and honor them. They all deserve our respect and consideration. Alpha Iota Phi Gam's Major General Pat Doherty, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Schultz are some of my generation that I can immediately think of. Dan would definitely want us to do that. Heck, go rush some. He just said it. We just heard it. Go rush some guys, get them in the house from ROTC. I'm going to borrow a point from a pig dinner I heard from Brother Billy Martin 20 years ago here in Ames. Since Dan died, I've been thinking about this a lot. So I'm going to ask the younger guys, especially here, look at the guy sitting next to you. Look him in the eye. There'll be a time that these brothers that you're sitting by now are going to be in your wedding party. They're going to know your children by name. They're going to attend a funeral of a parent later on in your life. You're going to need that brotherly support. That's why we're here today celebrating. Our Alpha Iota Phi Gamma Delta bonds are real and undeniable. Okay, lastly, I'll be done. I have done a poor job eulogizing Daniel Nolan Rouse. He deserves so much more. In my opinion, he could be honored at the Gold Star Hall at the Memorial Union. We looked into that. His death missed some specific technical conditions. Ironically, because Dan was too strong of a guy. Next time you're walking through trying to avoid the Zodiac, I want you guys look up, look at some of the patriots and veterans that are there and mentioned by name. To the plaque here, that's here today. I hope you guys mount at 325 Ash. Brothers FIJI's Pete McNally, Bill Pribble, and Brad Brecky all spent a lot of time creating this wall tribute. I hope you come look at it during the dinner night at the house, thoughtfully observe and think about it. The sand in the box is from Dan. He brought back an ammo box of sand from the Iraqi desert, and at his funeral, his family invited us to throw a spade on his gravesite. The black soil in the plaque is from Dan's hometown and farm. We called it God's country back then. It's Eagle Grove, Iowa, up in Wright County. Many road trips to Wright County back when I was in the house. So we want to remember that. Other pins and photos, mementos are in there displayed. Too many that we could even put in there, really. There's his bayonet and a replica of his Bronze Star that he earned. So please check that out and take care of it at 325 Ash. I will always be proud to be Dan Rouse's brother and an Alpha Iota FIJI. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pete McNally, also class of 1990. Thank you, Doug. That's really well done. I have the easy part. It wouldn't seem like I'm starting off that way. So as Doug mentioned, Dan's last deployment was recovering the remains of lost soldiers in Asia. They would travel there, they would work with the locals, find them, recover them, and return them home. They would identify them and return them to their families. And so that was the thing Dan was most proud of all that he had done. He would mention it regularly when we talked. So when he passed, it seemed appropriate and really just blatantly clear to us that we needed not just to recognize Dan, but we need to recognize every soldier, every sailor, every airman. What do we call Marines? Marines? Just Marines? Sorry. So that was sort of the inspiration for putting up a plaque that would recognize everybody who has served in active duty. We were prepared to present that to you. Carson Greenman, how many do we have on that list right now? About 60 brothers we have information on. We were going to present it. We ran into a little glitch with the engraver. The plaque is larger than they can use. So we got to solve that problem. But the positive to that is we have a little bit more time. We have some opportunity to add some more people to it. So my ask to you tonight is to, if you know any brother, if you serve, if you know any brothers who serve, please reach out to me. Please reach out to Carson, any of the current cabinet members, and the fail-safe since at least 1986 when I moved into the house, just ask Lynn Schroeder. He is perpetually there. But we're looking for any information. If you can give us names, grades, we can do some more hunting on that. So that's our ask for you today. And I guess one other thing I'd like to say is Joey Finelli was president at the time, and he's the one that got that done. He's the one that coordinated getting that video for the Exiles Toast in 2007. So thank you, Joey. So the other thing I guess I'd say, and we will do this next year when we present the formal plaque, but I'd like to do it again tonight. Are there any brothers here who served in active duty? And if so, would you please stand up? Anyone in active duty? That table, awesome. Scott, awesome. I know we have your info. If you guys haven't shared yours with us, please do so. I'm sitting right behind you, so you can't escape me. All right. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you both for wonderful presentations, and thank everyone again for taking up the job of installing a nice honor to people who had served in the name of Brother Rouse. Right now, we are going to receive our keynote address from Brother Glenn Reynolds, who is Alpha Iota class of 1973. I had the pleasure of meeting Brother Reynolds when he came to Ames, Iowa, and I happened to be the rush chairman. And he brought this goofy looking kid with him that was his son. And it was really kind of cool because he brought him to our house, but he stressed both in front of Bill and also in behind closed door brotherly talk that he was really encouraging Bill to look at dormitories and visit other fraternities. And he really did. And it was great because we hung out with Glenn a little bit and got to know him and figured out that Glen Ellen, Illinois was a neat town that we could find some folks to join the house. And we eventually did get Bill to join the House, and that was great. And since that time, as Glenn has said in his bio, I haven't seen very much of him, but it was almost like stepping through a door to yesterday when I saw him tonight. So please welcome Glenn Reynolds, class of 1973.
Pages are out of order. What am I gonna do? Could be trouble. You know, I've got lots of pages, but I was in the middle of my final run through when one of my pledge brothers called and asked me, "Did you see how the Cubs did today?" And I'm like, "Rich, I really don't care how the Cubs did today. I'm halfway through what I'm talking about. Anyway, I can't believe that's me. Doesn't look like me. It was really humbling when I was asked to speak here tonight. I hope I do you all FIJI proud. My son, Bill, had planned on being here tonight, but due to unforeseen circumstances, he was unable to attend. I'd like to thank him for pledging Alpha Iota and opening the window for me to reconnect with our fraternity. I'd also like to thank Scott Moore and Mike Klegel, who was the other Rush chairman the year that Bill pledged, for taking and helping Bill as a new freshman adjust to college life. Now, in our fraternity, we've got two sayings that each and every one of you have heard, you've probably all used too. Not for college days alone. And I'm mighty proud to be a FIJI. I have my own personal take on both of these sayings, and I'm hoping that by the time I finish my talk, you'll understand my personal take and understand them. Pages are getting all messed up here. A few months ago, I attended a luncheon with a group of old high school buddies. I was asked to say a few words about the classmates we had lost in 2021. And as I stood at the podium, I looked out among these 30 men who had gathered and realized that I remembered when and where I'd met each and every one of them. Some of them all the way back to kindergarten, some grade school, some junior high, some high school, Cub Scouts, sports teams, some through my older brother and his friends. I was profoundly struck by the impact each and every one had on me becoming the person I am today. Now, I stand here tonight and I look out at all you guys and I'm thinking to myself, who are these guys? The answer is simple, but yet not so simple. We are brothers. Look around tonight. Notice that we are all very different. There's a great age range. We all have come from different backgrounds. We're about as different as can be. However, we do share a common experience. As members of Alpha Iota, we have lived within the brotherhood of Phi Gamma Delta. We love this brotherhood. We cherish it. This is what brought us here tonight. Yes, we are brothers. Now, this would seem strange to people who have never experienced this, or even those who have experienced it but didn't recognize its value. But it wouldn't be any stranger than when my son pledged Alpha Iota and my son became my brother. You know, it took me a while to figure that out. When he pledged, I reconnected with 325 Ash. And being brothers with my son had some real good perks. I came here for Dad's weekend. They introduced me to Penny Pitchers at a downtown bar. You know, it was really great. And somehow that same weekend, I won every single raffle prize. I accused my son Bill of fixing it. He claimed innocence. Well, as it turned out, it was one of his good friends, who shall remain nameless, but his initials are Gabe Hansen, who had put in the fix. Now, I chose to come to Iowa State because they offered me the best baseball scholarship of any school and 2 part-time jobs to go with it. I was putting myself through school and my parents couldn't help. So at every home football game, I sold programs. I got to keep 10% of the proceeds. And I didn't fight the guy with the red cowboy hat with the N on the front when he handed me $100 bill and said, keep the change. Or when the university professor and his son came to the football game and handed me 2 tickets and said, give these away. 100% profit. Give them away? I don't think so. Well, it wasn't scalping if you sold them at face value. I guess I already said that part. I guess I practiced too many times. Also, I was paid $50 a week to get out of my bed in Towers dorm room at 2 o'clock in the morning, every morning, to go over to the new baseball field and watch the automatic sprinklers come on. It was a pretty good job, except if one of those sprinkler heads stuck, it would flood that part of the field. So I'd go out and I'd watch the sprinkler. Oh, this is fun. And then I'd turn around and go back to bed. In choosing Iowa State, academics was not a consideration. Simply, I wanted to play baseball. Now, this was my first of my great decisions for the wrong reasons. I chose to pledge FIJI for another wrong reason. The dorm food service would be closed every night before I'd finish practice. There were some nights I didn't eat. I didn't have the money to go to eat out, so I didn't eat. Then a teammate, Larry Dietrich, class of 72, invited me to his fraternity for some food. I was pretty hungry, you know, and so I was sold and I pledged FIJI. Amazing. Pledging Alpha Iota, though, was the second of my great decisions made for an entirely wrong reason. Now, fall and winter baseball practice kind of faded to a memory, and the spring season was getting ready to begin. And Iowa State was a preseason pick to finish last in the Big 8 conference. We proceeded to win the conference, win the District 5 Super Regionals, and went on to the 1970 College World Series. We first lost to Dartmouth and Pete Broberg, a future Major League pitcher. But then we beat University of Arizona. In our last game against Ohio University, I was fortunate enough to pitch 4 innings. Unfortunately, we were already 6 runs down by the time I came into the game. I gave up a screaming line drive to the Ohio shortstop, some bush leaguer named Mike Schmidt. The only thing that kept that line drive from going out of the park was when it hit the top of the wall. Now, for some of you younger guys, if you don't know who Mike Schmidt is, he went on to hit over 500 Major League home runs and be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. With a pitching staff of 4 freshmen and 2 sophomores, we finished 5th in the nation. Now, we returned to Ames in the middle of June, and the campus was absolutely deserted. There wasn't another person here. They told us, return your cars to the motor pool and we'll see you in the fall. Okay, not a bad welcome for finishing 5th in the nation. You know, what the heck? It wasn't until 40 years later in 2010 that we were honored at a home football game and welcomed back to the university. As the PA announcer summarized our season, we walked out onto the field to be introduced and we were cheered by the home crowd. My poor wife didn't know what to do. Take a picture of me on the field as I'm getting introduced, or take a picture of me up on the Jumbotron. She just was, I think she got one picture. This same honor was repeated just this last fall when we celebrated our 51st anniversary of our College World Series appearance. I think I need to recommend to the athletic department they not wait another 10 years. We're just not getting any younger here. Or I could just say we're a bunch of old guys. But now, meanwhile, back at 325 Ash, and I assume everybody in this room knows where 325 Ash is, I had pledged in September of 1969, but was not activated with my pledge class in April of 1970. So in the fall, I actually became a member of a new pledge class. This became quite a challenge. The pledge trainer couldn't understand that I would never be able to be at a pledge meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was at baseball practice. At pig dinner, 1971. Oh, I actually got to watch Howard Logan get his silver owl that year. But in 1971, I was received the Outstanding Sophomore Award. I had pitched in the College World Series. I had a grade point average that was well above the house average. You know, life was good. However, it was about that same time my life seemed to be falling apart. With an injury to my throwing arm, my baseball prospects dimmed, along with my mental outlook and my grades. The FIJI house was my refuge. It was my hideaway, not the bricks and mortar of 325 Ash, but the men who lived within. They picked me up. They encouraged me. They were there for me. This was a super emotional time, and here I am as a 70-year-old still starting to feel myself choking up. Because remember, I came to Iowa State to play baseball. I wasn't going to, I'm playing baseball. But when I tried to express my thanks and my appreciation to my roommate, Jimmy Hildebrand, he looked at me with a quizzical look in his face, says, "That's okay. That's what brothers do." Okay. I remained on the Iowa State baseball team through my junior year, but I never again played in a game. But remember those good decisions for the wrong reasons? I met my wife of almost 50 years. I got a great education, and I was forever linked to a great group of brothers. Not bad outcomes for a young kid from suburban Chicago. In the fall of 1996, my son pledged Alpha Iota, and I reconnected with the house, and that connection became stronger than ever. I've attended pig dinners with Pledge Brothers. We've remembered how the brotherhood had been so important to our lives. After talking to Lynn Schroeder, who was a freshman when I was a senior, and whose brother Bill was a good friend of mine, I agreed to be the keynote speaker tonight. Since then, I've had extended conversations with my closest friends from my undergraduate days. We reminisced about the influence of Phi Gamma Delta in our lives. We remembered how a foosball game got us into a bar fight in Fort Dodge the night before John Kern's wedding. and how Rich Unger stood up at the wedding with a black eye the next day. Oh, and Mike, I haven't told anybody about us getting ticketed for open consumption at Pig Dinner 1997. So your secret's safe. I want to circle back to the fact that we are brothers. We share a common experience. We have all lived within the brotherhood of Phi Gamma Delta. We love this brotherhood. We cherish it. Yes, we are brothers. Not for college days alone. This brotherhood helped me to become the person I was and the person I am. I'm mighty proud to be a FIJI. Yes, I am. But to me, it's more like I'm mighty blessed to be a FIJI. I've spoken way too long, and I only have one thing to say. I salute each and every one of you, and I am humbled to be able to call you my brothers. Cheers.
Thank you, Brother Reynolds. Brother Mike Owen, class of 73, would like to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Good evening. And it's my pleasure this is sort of a spur of the moment event, but I wanted to give my pledge brother, even though he was a little late at becoming an actor, this gift. Open it up.
Laundry bag, thanks, Mike.
It is. It is.
You type? Oh,
I did. But remember, you can only do so much of what you have to work with.
did your wife help you? A little nervous. But I found it. You're kidding.
Yeah.
They don't make these or sell these anymore. There hasn't been baseball here since the mid-90s. Amazing. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Brother Reynolds. We really appreciate you coming to speak to us and for providing us those words of memory and wisdom. I was sitting at the table and it was kind of interesting because I come back and I realized there's more gray hairs and wrinkles on glasses on people that I knew when they were young. And when people start talking about how old they are, it's like, yeah, it happens. But when you mentioned giving up a hit to young Mike Schmidt, one of my fonder memories as a youngster, and so now I'm dating myself. I was at Wrigley when Mike Schmidt hit a home run off a genuine Lee Smith fastball back in the day, and that was pretty cool. We have a couple of things to recognize for people who have been exceptional in their path as FIGAMs and as scholars. But before we do that, we have down here a plaque I'm going to grab. And just like Brother Rouse's plaque, please make sure you get a chance to look at this and look at the names on this. So this is a plaque that is in thanks to the folks who stepped up during the COVID crisis of 2019, God, or 2020, was it that long ago? I remember I was a school teacher on spring break. I was at my brother's house in Alabama, and they came on the TV and said, everything's shut down. And I said, well, what the hell am I going to do now? And my school discovered something called Zoom. And we all got on a thing and they said, yeah, we're shut down. Don't worry about it. So I stayed in Alabama for a few more weeks, but it didn't matter because everything was closed. We couldn't get anything at the restaurant. But I didn't realize at the time that universities like Iowa State were also shutting their doors and sending kids home. In the Alpha Iota chapter, the guys just left. And of course, they had to have their rent prorated. It wouldn't be fair through no fault of their own. And so we were in desperate need of funds for operating costs, just to keep the chapter house running, with no idea or notion of how soon it was going to open back up again. And so some brothers put out the call, and everyone on this list and on this plaque answered the call. And we thank you a great deal, because many times you hear these stories of how the chapter house survived something big, and this was something that was quietly big, and you kept us here. So thank you all very much. The next little biography that I get to read is a great privilege. I had a chance to interact with this brother quite a bit when I was in college, and several times after I graduated. For you younger guys, when you come to an event like this, you need to realize that Alpha Iota is actually a shining star in the chapters of Phi Gamma Delta. Not only do we get good grades and generate good people, but we've had people in leadership positions out in the world and within the fraternity. We've had archons, we've had undergraduate archons, we have current archons, we have had people become distinguished FIJIs, which is a rare honor. And I get the privilege of talking about one of those distinguished FIJIs this evening. The Distinguished FIJI Award is presented annually to no more than 6 graduate brothers. They shall be deserving of recognition for their faithful and unselfish service to Phi Gamma Delta, or their special contribution to mankind and society at large. Our brother, Gordon J. Smith, class of 61, was chosen by the Archons for the award in 2021. For those of you that know Gordon, this is no surprise, but it is a well-deserved recognition of over 60 years of service to Alpha Iota. One of the nominators wrote, "His blood is purple." Another wrote, "I can speak for many members of our chapter when I say Gordon's actions and his words have had a profound impact on our lives. Those words and actions have been a primary driver for our participation in support of Phi Gamma Delta." And finally, I believe Gordon's greatest contribution has been his infectious FIJI spirit and his knack for inspiring others. He was honored in October during a luncheon hosted by his pledge brother and former Archon President Dick McCormick. This award was presented by current Archon Counselor Tom Walden. Tom is here this evening as well, class of 79. Please congratulate me in congratulating, or join me in congratulating Brother Smith. Gordon, please come up and say a few words.
The good news is I don't have anything to say except thank you. My memory bank is working pretty good. I remember all those wonderful years and what a big part of this organization has been in my life forever. And I just hope that you younger guys will remember that too and keep it with you forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. We appreciate your presence and everything that you've done for our chapter and for Phi Gamma Delta at large. All right, now I would like to call up our current chapter president, Gabriel Schmidt, class of 24, for a very short series of remarks.
Everybody, hope you're doing well. It's great to see so many pages in the room at one time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I hope that you all have a drink or two to enjoy. And finally, we're able to gather together after 3 long years, and it's taken much work to be here once again. So before I go on, I would like to acknowledge some men that have dedicated their time and effort to make this weekend possible. So please stand when your name is mentioned. Lynn Schroeder, Steve Hunt, Filosa, Lou Filosa, Bob Lawrence, Dane Locke, Carson Griven, Parker Psycho, and Alex Moeller. Thank you all so much. So during my time on cabinet, I've been blessed to work with a group of great men that have strived to better the chapter and have made my job so beneficial. Being only a sophomore, I've not had the opportunity to be part of this chapter as long as some of my undergraduate associates. But what I can say at this chapter is committed to our values and to creating better men. And we reap the rewards every day. And those rewards have been driven by graduates, both recent and past, and by many of the men in this room. Everyone here knows why we haven't gathered for some time now. For our chapter in particular, when COVID started, we lost our way with the traditions that we were so proud of. We never forgot them. When I was elected president, my cabinet and I made it our top priority to bring back the chapter to what it always has been. A chapter that fosters young men who appreciate and have a passion for the values and traditions of this fraternity. We've been working very hard to do so, and we are in a good place, actually. During COVID, we were still doing a great job, achieving the 3rd best GPA in IC community. Also, with all the negative events that have occurred with other chapters nationally, we have maintained a great reputation on campus, which is due to the cabinet before mine. So I give them props. There's also many things to look forward to, like the house is filling back up. Our in-house numbers have been down recently, but in the fall we plan to have at least 45 more members living in, and hopefully some more in the spring as well. And this is because of our great past and current recruitment chairs that brought in almost 30 new members to our chapter last semester. And thanks to Drew Sidlow and Andrew Wagon, we hopefully can have a big group again in the fall. Additionally, we've been able to participate in Greek life events again and bring back traditions like our formal dinners. We also just hosted our latest philanthropy called the Phi Gamma Football Jam, in which we asked sororities to participate in a football tournament to win 25% of the proceeds for the charity of their choosing. It was like kind of like a sorority tournament. And so the rest we donated to the Garden Gate Ranch, who raises awareness for sexual abuse and helps sexually exploited women. So even during tough times, we've remained the strong chapter that we always were, and the future is looking bright. Being a Phi Gamma provides a place where every day we have the opportunity to influence our brothers for the greater good and to mature their aspirations. That's the tradition that you all created, and it's one which motivates every man in this room. I'm so proud to be a part of this chapter and be affiliated with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabe. Guy and his obvious companion are sitting at the restaurant, kind of cooing and blushing and whispering in each other's ears, and they cast around a furtive glance, and all of a sudden the guy slides under the table. Restaurant waitress notices this and says, "Miss, we don't appreciate your husband being under the table like that." She said, oh no, that's not my husband. My husband just walked through the door. Okay. We got some young men and some older men who are now going to be receiving some awards. In the receiving line on this side of the stage, for the men receiving those awards, we're going to have our chapter president, Gabe Schmidt, our current Purple Legionnaire, Paul Dudley, Nate Scott, our House Corps president, and missing this evening will be Kevin Shires, who is the head of our scholarship on House Corps. To present these awards are going to be Carson Greiman, class of 22, and Parker Psycho, class of 24. Come on up, gentlemen.
Alrighty, we're going to begin with the AAA scholarship. These grants were created to encourage and reward academic achievement during a young man's first semester as a FIJI. These basic requirements include being a full-time student and earning a GPA of 3.2 or higher during that first semester, submitting an official transcript and the award application, and being a full-fledged initiate of the fraternity. The grants were previously a total of $500 over 2 semesters. The HQ in Lexington provided the initial $250, and Alpha Iota was matching the grant with graduate donations. The Educational Foundation has sadly ended this program, and Alpha Iota cannot fund these grants of $500. If you're thinking about making a contribution in support of these grants, please direct your tax deductible donation to the Education Foundation in Lexington, Kentucky. Be sure to note Iowa State Alpha Iota scholarship account on your check and money order. This will make sure that the funds go to our chapter. And Carson's gonna say the names of everyone over the last year that's earned this. And please wait to hold your applause until after everyone's called. So.
Gabe Schmidt. Carlo Kwan. Nico Kupas. Tommy Nunez. Mike Brennan. John Pfeiffer. Joe Johnson. Douglas Poy. Elin Davis. Jack Winkler. Jackson Hagan. Tyler Savickas. Mike Brennan. That's all the names.
White Star. It's all in order. It's just I split them up. So.
Okay. John Adams. There's also John Adams. Okay. Okay. Next up is the Hildebrand White Star Award. A White Star Pledge Award has been given by the chapter for many years. The winner is chosen by his classmates as the outstanding pledge based on academics, leadership, and attitude. It is quite an honor as it comes from his peers. A scholarship has also been given to winners since 2009. The Scoop Hildebrand White Star Scholarship is funded through an endowment left by brother James R. Scoop Hildebrand, class of '74. Scoop grew up here in Ames and joined Alpha Iota upon coming to Iowa State. He earned degrees in journalism and accounting. He served the fraternity as recording secretary, chapter president, and was on the graduate board of chapter advisors. Scoop had a long and successful career with the IRS. He loved to audit people he thought might be crooks. His wit and humor were legendary. His Christmas letters were hilarious and anticipated by all the lucky enough to be on the nice list. He earned his place in ISU FIJI lore on the machine gun road trip. Like so many brothers, he was a great friend. He loved the fraternity and is missed dearly. Brother Hildebrand passed ad astra in December 2008. The endowment is administered by the Educational Foundation in Lexington. The generated interest funds this award. The winner receives a grant of $2,500 spread over 2 semesters. The scholarship is granted when a particular class initiates 5 or more men. 2 awards will be given out this evening. From the spring 21 class is Gabriel Schmidt. Gabe is from Gurney, Illinois, and is majoring in CSM. The fall 21 class award goes to Miles Fazanine. Miles is from Wayzata, Minnesota, and is studying pre-biz. Congratulations, brothers.
All right. Oh wait. Okay. Oh Lou. Lou. Can we get Lou up to the podium, please?
You blew it. You blew it. You're all good. Damn, I forgot exactly. This is Mr. Charitable.
Yeah. Damn it.
Which one's first? So the next award we have is our in-house FIJI award, which is basically the FIJI that has been giving back most of the house and like been sacrificing a lot of time and has been doing a lot for us lately within the past year and also lives in the house. And so this year's our winner is Parker Psycho because Parker is splitting time between an apartment and in the house. We needed numbers in the house, and I asked him to live in the house. And he's paying rent for his apartment and also paying a house bill to live in the house. And I asked him to be a pig dinner chair with Carson because I knew we needed help, and he took up the responsibility. He's also planning on running for cabinet in the fall, so he's done a lot for us lately.
It's pretty hard to top that intro, but I just wanted to say a few words. The basis of this was just to bring forth that we didn't care about scholarship. We didn't care, although we do care. In this particular instance, it didn't come into the calculations. It's really about bringing to forth someone who goes above and beyond and looks out for all of us on both our level, the graduate and the undergraduates. And that special person needs to be recognized for his efforts. That is you tonight. Thank you.
All right, so what made me make this decision to live in house? So I signed an apartment contract last or fall of 2020, and I could not break it because it was a combined lease. And after living one semester in the apartment, I just felt super uninvolved in the house, and I hated not being a part of every experience living in a house. And I had a conversation with Gabe at our formal actually about making this happen. And I was really fortunate to have some help from the house to end up paying for this. But yeah, it feels I feel a lot better being able to be involved as a graduate chair and as a delegate chair this semester. So, yeah.
So the next award that we have is somewhat similar. It's our most charitable FIJI award, where this brother gives a lot of hours to the community, and also has been giving back to the house a lot lately as well. And so this year, our charitable FIJI award is Cole Boyer, because he is he's not only our philanthropy chair, but he's done a lot of community service hours and helps us volunteer around. But the biggest thing he's done for us lately is during COVID, when guys were going home, and he had an agreement with our mom Joe that nothing would be taken out of like the wardrobes and drawers, right? But she maybe heard him wrong, and so she had the cleaners wipe everything out. Everything was thrown away, and that was worth hundreds of dollars. And so Cole paid out of pocket to reimburse these guys that were in house. So we just want to recognize it for something like that.
Congratulations. Can't believe it's you. And that's one of the brothers I know better than most. Just stand up here. Again, we wanted to, us, and it's really all of us, we wanted to establish something that would be ongoing, where people who live in the house and also go above and beyond. It's not how smart you are, how fast you are, but maybe how kind and conservative you are, worrying about others and doing what's right, and trying to step up to the plate each time and do it the right way for everybody else. And so you're the first recipient. Congratulations. But we're not done yet. I have a special guest, Dick Davison.
I'm sure you'll all agree with me. There have been some very well done comments this evening. Lou asked if I'd spend about 20 minutes or so talking about philanthropy. No, of course I'm kidding, but there are so many great examples in this room of brothers who have exemplified philanthropy. Very generous people, very thoughtful people in this room. Too many to mention. Lou certainly is one who has led from the front. And Cole, I just want to say that it is really, I think, special for our fraternity to recognize somebody who is a philanthropist by going beyond what they need and considering what others need and addressing that, which is really what philanthropy is about. So this award really gets bigger because Lou, Cole is presenting you with a check that you can decide to have go to your favorite philanthropy to just make this a bigger celebration and recognition. So congratulations.
All right. Okay. So last year I was president and I kind of missed my little president's speech and I got a little upset about that. So I'm going to take the mic for probably about 15 minutes here and talk to all of you. So no, it's going to be quick. I just like to recognize all the guys that helped us out last year with online pig dinner and through all the shit we went through with COVID. It was a mess. Like you guys had your problems and we had, I mean, it was crazy. And it's so glad. I'm happy to see all of you guys here. Like we've missed this. I'm a senior. This is the first time I've been doing pig dinner. I'm just so happy to be here. So the following individuals, like you guys already been recognized so much, but I could do it again. Lou Filosa, Bob, Nate, Paul, all you guys. Thank you so much for the help you given this last 2 years. I appreciate you guys to no end. Thank you guys.
I don't know if we should go to the next slide. I'm a little nervous to Scott who's on it. All right. We're moving on to the Byron V2 Memorial Scholarships. There we go. These scholarships are made possible by a bequest from our late brother, Dr. Byron V. Toot, class of 59. Brother Toot grew up in the Sioux City area. He came to Iowa State and pledged Phi Gamma Delta. He received his bachelor's degree in 1959. Byron then went on to medical school, got his MD, and practiced medicine in California for many years. He maintained his fraternal connections with the Alpha Iota chapter, attending many pig dinners with his trademark handlebar mustache, a big smile, and a hearty laugh. He also served the fraternity as Purple Legionnaire for the Iota Chi chapter at the University of California, Irvine. Brother Toot sadly passed ad astra in March of 2001. The bequest is administered by the Educational Foundation in Lexington, and the income that is generated makes these grants possible. While grades are a big part of the selection process, participating with the chapter, the university, and the community are also big factors. Some winners are chosen based on scholastic achievement. Some are selected based on improvement during the previous year. Each winner receives, it kind of varies, but it's $1,500 spread over 2 semesters. This year, 3 grants are being awarded. As I call your name again, please come forward to accept your award and hold the applause till everyone is announced. First up, we have Carlo Kwan, class of 24. All right, don't come up here if I call your name. Just go over there. Adam Rundy, class of 23. And Dean Hagstrom, class of 24. I didn't make these slides. That's not the right.
Well, we both did it, so we're good now. So this award, Dick, I might have you come up and help me as well, but the Richard D. 4-year FIJI Award. This award is given to a graduating senior who has shown years of dedication to Phi Gamma Delta while serving as a role model and a daily example of our values. The brother is selected by vote of the undergraduate chapter. In 2018, a grant was established by brother Dick McCormick to go with this award. Dick is a native of Fort Dodge, class of 61. The majority of his professional career was spent in the telecommunications industry, retiring as a chairman and CEO of US West. Now CenturyLink, Dick has served his fraternity as chapter treasurer, Archon counselor, and Archon president. Dick has established the endowment to generate an annual award of $2,500. This year, the 4-year FIJI Award is given to Ryan Bissonette, And Ryan Bessonette will graduate with supply chain management. Congratulations, Ryan.
Alrighty, now we're moving on to the Sires and Sons. The Sires and Sons were created on May 1st, 1925, and it is an additional bond formed with father and child. This was done at the White House in Washington, D.C. on that Founders Day. The original 6 signatories included President Calvin Coolidge, 1895, and Archon President William F. Chamberlain, 1893. Will the following Sires and Sons please come forward? Brad Hagstrom, class of 90, and his son Dean, class of 24. Pete McNally, class of 90, and his son Cam, class of 24. Oh, and Finn McNally. Where's it out of here? Yeah, you already want it. David Sadler, class of 90, and his son Matt, class of 23, also my pledge father. John Beasley, class of 91, and his son Jack, class of 24. John is currently recovering from an injury and wants to wait till next year to accept the award, I guess. So you could, yeah, sit down. Jason Pauling, class of 94, and his son Brady, class of 24. Darren Johnson, class of 96, and his son Tate, class of 24. What? That is all the Sires and Sons. What? You just made me do that.
So if we're counting, I've done it, Parker's done it, and Gabe told Parker to do it again. So the Alan C. Steele Award, given to a graduate member for the dedication to the Alpha Iota chapter and the personal impact on undergraduate members. The award is named for Alan C. Steele in 1908. Brother Steele was a member of the Noit Abrats when the group petitioned Phi Gamma Delta for a charter. As secretary of our attendant, he wrote the chartering petition to the Ecclesia. When the petition was granted, he became the Alpha Iota's first delegate to the Ecclesia. He was active on campus, participating in debate, and was the editor of the ISC Daily. He was constantly willing to lend a helping hand to the chapter, right up until his untimely death in a car accident in August of 1959. He and his wife were killed while en route to the FIJI Academy. The award is given to a graduate brother for his dedication to the Alpha Iota chapter and his personal impact on the undergraduate members. This year's winner is Robert Bob Lawrence, class of 79. Bob is retired and lives here in Ames with his wife, Laura. They have 2 adult daughters, one in Iowa City and the other in the Kansas City metro.
All right, last but certainly not least, we're moving on onto the Owl Awards. Starting off, we're doing the Silver Owls. The Silver Owl honorees are marking 25 years from their date of initiation. With us tonight are Scott Brew and Scott Moore. Thanks, mess it up. Scott Brew, class of 99. Scott owns his own business in Tempe, Arizona. He has the unique perspective of being involved with a big clan of Alpha Iota brothers. His own brother, Chad, along with Jason, Judd, Caden, and Brady Pauling. And then our Toastmaster, Scott Moore, Jr., class of 96. Scott is an interesting guy, and he bleeds purple. He was chapter treasurer and volunteered as Purple Legionnaire and section chief as a graduate. He claims to be the oldest ever pledge, having come to Iowa State Alpha Iota after serving in the military.
All right, next up, we got the Gold Owl class celebrates the milestone of 50 years from the date of initiation. They will receive a certificate and a label pin. Please come forward to be recognized. John C. Bamsey, class of 73. John has lived in Omaha area for a long time, working with several companies as a product manager. What out? John has a pretty wicked sense of humor. Paul H. Campbell, class of 75. Brother Campbell is a former chapter president. He is currently a commissioned lay minister for his hometown Presbyterian Church in Castleton, North Dakota. Lou Filosa, NYU, class of 73, ISU, class of 75. Lou has built his own successful business, ETI, in the Chicago metro. He and his wife, Laura, live in Mokina, a Chicago suburb. He graduated from NYU with a bachelor's degree, moved to Iowa State to get his master's, and affiliated with the Alpha Iota chapter. John W. Kern, class of 73. John wanted to join us in Ames tonight. It was not possible as he and his wife are providing care for 2 family members with cancer. Rumor is Glenn and Beal are contemplating a road trip to North Carolina to hand deliver his certificate and pen. Michael D.K. Owen, class of 73. Dr. Owen. As facilities advisor for his 30-ish years with Alpha Iota, we're sure he has some interesting observations. Mike is now retired as a professor, splitting time between his homes in Ames and the Upper Peninsula in Michigan with his wife, Gail. Glenn Reynolds, class of 73. Glenn is also a retired educator. We thank him for graciously being our speaker tonight. He and his wife, Ginny, also split time between 2 homes, one in Glen Ellen, Illinois, and one in Door County, Wisconsin. Greg T. Reinhardt, class of 74. Greg and his wife, Polly, reside and work on the family farm northwest of Boone. They operated a very popular stand at the Des Moines Farmers Market for over 20 years. They also find time to enjoy their kids and 27, count them, 27 grandkids with 3 more on the way. Bill E. Schroeder. Bill and his wife, Brenda, are enjoying retirement based out of their home in Rock Island, Illinois. Bill worked for many years with IH and John Deere in the Quad Cities. They're having fun visiting kids and grandkids, plus doing some traveling.
All right, now Scott will make some final remarks.
When I say it is. So I wasn't going to tell this one, but I just had to. So a lot of folks who know me have noticed my new facial growth. I do it particularly because I started doing no shave Novembers. And then when I would finally shave in December, I'd try to do something creative. And one day I walked in and all of my kids hated this. They thought I looked so creepy and like a cowboy. I keep a thing of candy in my room so kids can come in and steal it. And I'd just pull it out and say, "Do you want some candy, kid?" So this evening I've been thinking about how I'm going to go you know, make it a little better. And when Dick Davidson came up, I'm sorry, man, but I want that hair. Like my ozone hole needs to get covered up. So that's my next thing I'm going to try. So anyway, someone with hair like that and a mustache like this, a biker, rides into a local town bar and sits down and has a beer. And all of a sudden he realizes the locals are all looking at him with the stink eye. And while he's a biker, he's getting a little afraid. So he thinks to himself, goes outside and comes back in. All of a sudden, he's got an alligator about this big. He pulls the alligator in one hand and unzips his pants and throws him down to the floor in his other and proceeds to put the alligator right on his package. He lets it go. The alligator does a death twist. He's just standing there, and all of a sudden he just reaches down and pokes both the alligator's eyes, and the alligator pops his mouth open, and the guy catches it while it's falling. He looks around and says, all right, are any of you sons of bitches man enough to do that? Someone in the back says, well, yeah, if you promise not to poke my eyes. Okay, so anyway, before we get to the final presentations and the closing song that we all know and love so well, I just wanted to thank you all for tolerating me and tolerating the length of this program. I hope it is not another 1,100 days until we can all be together. I certainly hope it is not even more than a year until I see some of my friends who are in the area and you guys see some others. You young undergrads, please realize there must be something that is even more special about what you're doing right now than you realize, that makes a bunch of 70, 80, 90-year-old men travel thousands of miles to get together like this once a year. Please appreciate what you are a part of. And like myself, be very grateful and very humbled that the people that came before you gave you something this awesome and let you become a part of it. I am so, so humbled and proud that you let me be a small part of Phi Gamma Delta. The other thing is, in everything that's happening in the world today and all the remembrances we've had for brothers earlier today, in thinking about Brother Rouse, I encourage you all, grapple your brothers to your heart as with steel hooks. Because these times and these days are limited, no matter whether you are the youngest pledge or the oldest snout kisser in the room. These guys are awesome and they're important, and we all love each other and we all share some common values. Thank you all for being wonderful guests tonight. We have one more set of presentations and then the closing song, and then I promise we'll get the bar back open. Right now, the Pig Dinner Committee, Carson, Steve, Dane, and Parker, please come up for what you need to do. Okay. Now, I know they flipped the things wrong with the slides, but somehow or another, I'm getting hazed for all this at my table. So when you guys hiss and stuff stop, it makes the old guys get their hackles up and like they know about hazing. You guys don't know nothing.
All right, I don't know if Dan and Steve want to come up, so Carson and I can just do it. Dan, do you want to come up? All right. All right, so if we can have our keynote speaker, Glenn Reynolds, and our Toastmaster, Scott Moore, come up to the stage. Not like you just left or anything.
As you guys know, I'm the best singer around here. So without further ado, let's do this. Hands. Hands. When college songs and college lays are faded with their maker's days. When soul swift's wheels have made us old, in college life's a tale that's told. Phi Gamma Delta still to thee, our hearts will turn eternally. Phi Gamma Delta still to thee, our hearts will turn eternally. What if the space be far and wide that parts us from our brother's side? A soul chain unites our band, and memory links us hand to hand. Phi Gamma Delta still to thee, our hearts will turn eternally. Phi Gamma Delta still to thee, our hearts will turn eternally.
Anything else? All right, if you guys need to take pictures, right over here would be a wonderful place. Please look at the plaques, the awards, and young people, please meet the older guys this evening. We'd love to find out what you're up to. Have a great night, brothers. Travel safe.